Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr. Welcome back to my channel and my A Year of Christmas series for 2022. Today we're going to create some oversized shaker gift tags made with circle dies. So more along the lines of when you don't have the right kind of shape for what you want to use, you can use products from your stash. And this is based on a very popular card I did last year. I'm showing you it here on the screen. I also will link to it here at the end of the video if you want to check out this card as well. But this inspired my cards today. We're just going to use different stamps, but I'm using the same dies. So a lot of the same products for this. Don't be afraid to, I don't know what it's called in card making, but back in the scrapbooking days, it was called scrap lifting. So don't be afraid to lift yourself. If you want to create more cards based on something that you've done in the past, or tags in this case, I think it's always a good idea, especially if it's something you super enjoyed. In this case, I really wanted to use the brand new Colorado Craft Company Kris stamps. This is the CHILLIN GNOMIES. Sorry, I couldn't think of what the name was, had to look it up. And to start, we're just going to do a bunch of die cutting before we actually get to the stamping, but I wanted to kind of explain why I came to this particular project, and that is because the images are fairly large, which is going to require a fairly large tag. Now, you definitely don't have to make this a shaker. You could just simply make this a flat tag, but I think a shaker is always a good idea, and so I tend to gravitate towards them because I think they're super fun. I am going to grab my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. I have got some pattern paper here. I have found that I gravitate towards the Honeybee Stamps pattern paper a lot in my Christmas card making. You may have noticed that with some of the other projects I've shared during this series and beyond. We're using pattern paper from Holiday Cheer and Farm Fresh Holiday. And I am mixing these just a little bit, but these are the only two pattern paper pads I am using today for my tags. Now, maybe you don't need a tag. Maybe you want to turn this into a card. With a few easy switcheroos, you could very, very easily do that. Make a rectangular shaker or a square shaker, something that'll fit on a standard size card. Or you can simply create something flat on a card instead of doing a 3D project like a tag. I think tags are always a good idea. I personally love my Handmade Holiday and this year Christmas series for being able to create a lot of tags because they are one of my all-time favorite things to make. I am taking, so you're going to notice there's a lot of taping dies together here. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp low tack tape to do this, and I'm taping two of the Simon Says Stamp circle thin frames together. Any circle frame is going to work. I chose these because yes, they do have that teeny tiny little thin frame. So there's going to be a little excess. I did throw away the others, or those pattern paper ones. I'm not going to keep them. Just like the original though, I'm going to use that little thin frame to die cut some matte silver and matte gold cardstock from Simon Says Stamp because I think it frames up our little ornament or big ornament as it is perfectly. I'm also going to use that big size to die cut our backers. So the lighter gray colors that I'm using, or this lighter gray, and then there's the white kind of distressed, you can see there, I'm going to be die cutting. From the two frames, I die cut the frame for each of our shakers. And then that little circle piece is extra. We can save that for another card. For the backer inside the shaker and what we're actually going to stamp our images on and color, I picked something light. And obviously I picked that on purpose because I want to be able to color over it. Now you could take the coordinating dies that come with these Colorado Craft Company images or any images from your stash, whatever you want to create, and you can die cut them and place them in the shaker. Part of the reason I chose not to today is I like my shakers flat, and so I opted to do some masking. I don't love to do that very often. but I think in this case, the results were amazing. While I have my matte silver cardstock out to cut the frame, I'm also going to take the Simon Says Stamp Holiday Messages Ornament die, and it's the little ornament topper. You can use any kind of tag topper you want. I picked this one. It is what I used for the original that I showed early in the video because it's big. And so I die cut that twice from either matte gold or silver, depending on the ornament. And I did that twice. And then I've also die cut the little hole reinforcer from the Nested Tags Simon Says Stamp die set. Any die set that you have that has tags in it that has a hole reinforcer you can use. Now there are tags in this, and I could have used the tags in this set, but I completely went rogue and used the scalloped gift tag from Simon Says Stamp. It does not come with a hole reinforcer, but it does have that darling little scallop at the bottom. Again, that is what I used in the original, and so I just kind of went ahead and went for it. But if you don't have both of those, you definitely don't need it. Adding the hole reinforcers is an extra step. I'm a little extra, as we've all discussed in lives and everything else. Or you could just use the basic shape tag with the hole reinforcer if you don't have these scalloped tags. I also used the largest piece to die cut the backers for each of my ornaments, which you'll see here in a little bit. That's a contrasting color of pattern paper. And I am laying out my stamps. I'm using two different brand new Colorado Craft Company stamp sets here. We are using CHILLIN GNOMIES is what the first one is. That's the images. And that's going to be our polar bear, penguins, bunny, and the Gnomie Santa. And then I'm also using the Spirit of Christmas stamp set for greetings. So let's go ahead and I'm going to move everything out of the way. And we are going to do some simple masking. I highly recommend, if you like to do some masking, masking paper is phenomenal. If you don't have masking paper, try Post-it notes. The little sticky on those should hold things down in place, but with the amount of masking I'm doing today, I do really, really recommend some masking paper of some sort because it makes it a lot easier, especially because I'm doing multiple cards or tags, pardon me. It's not a ton. I know I'm only doing 2, but with a project like this where there's so many parts and pieces, this is not something I'm going to mass produce on a huge scale. This is more of a specialty type of project where this is going to be part of the gift for the recipient. Maybe it's a gift, a large gift, you tie this on. Maybe it's a plate of cookies or whatever, and this becomes part of the gift because it becomes something the recipient can tie on their tree or use in decorations or display somehow. I'm always thinking of that when I'm creating my tags. How can the recipient use this going forward? How to make it something special that they're not just going to throw in the trash. I am going to start with the image that goes in the forefront. So I am grabbing both of my lighter backgrounds because, again, we're going to color directly on this. And I have my sleigh from the CHILLIN GNOMIES lined up in my MISTI. I'm stamping it with the Hero Arts Intensified black ink. And you want to stamp, I always think of it this way when I'm doing masking like this and building a scene. You want to build it where everything in the foreground is stamped first and you gradually work your way to what's going to be in the background. So at the beginning of the video, when you saw me laying out the components, that is what I was doing. I am really visual, so for me, it helps me to know the sleigh needs to be stamped first, then the penguin, then Santa, then penguin, bunny, polar bear. By laying it out, it gives me that visual where I know what I need to cut. Now, what makes this masking slightly better and slightly easier than a full masked card is I'm only really needing to mask that upper portion. So I didn't have to cut out the whole sleigh. I only had to cut that easy kind of curved border along the top. So that made it super nice. And You can see I left anything I didn't need not masked or not trimmed, pardon me. And now I'm simply using my images to figure out where I want to position everything. And we're starting with one of the little penguins. In this stamp set, I'm trying to see what all I did not use. I think I only didn't use one penguin and one package, like one present. Otherwise, I used everything in the stamp set. Oh, I didn't use the greeting. So only 3 images. Everything else we're using. I feel like that's a huge win. So cute. And keep this in mind. I did the smaller sized shaker tags with the Mama Elephant dies here a little while back. You could take any one of these images, like I'm thinking more probably the Gnomie Santa or the large polar bear, and you could do single images for your tags, for those kind of tags, and they would fit within that same shape. So definitely kind of think about what you might already have in your stash and what you could use to do something similar. Then I masked the penguin and I'm going to stamp my Gnomie Santa, and you're going to see just kind of the continuation of this. Again, we do not have to cut out the entire Santa, mostly just the right side here with his arms sticking out. So I'm just gonna kind of do a quick little trim. And now we're going to do the other penguin that I chose to use, then the bunny and the polar bear. I wanted this to be a super full scene. This is a huge size gift tag. If you have smaller images, you could definitely make it smaller because we're using a die set that has lots of different sizes of circle tags, so you don't have to make this giant oversized one. I wanted to show how if you want a giant tag or you need a big tag for a large present, you can do that. One of my masks stuck a little bit, so I'm going to use some really sharp tweezers. These are the little precise tweezers from Spellbinders to remove part of that. And I end up really not needing it, so it's going to be fine. And I am using my masks for both cards. So you will see me move the masks from, not cards, tags. You'll see me use the masks from one tag to the other. Would this work if you wanted to create 10 tags? Maybe not. The masking paper may not hold up to that many stamping on top of it, but for a couple, 2-3 tags, it's going to work fine. But again, probably masking is not something you're going to want to do for a huge amount of tags. And if you do, you win, because that is a lot of work. But hopefully by creating projects like this early enough in the year, it makes it possible to get those done before the holiday season. I'm all about getting some things done as early in the season as possible this year. So I am simply replacing my masks and stamping my remaining 2 critters. Yes, on that previous circle, I accidentally pulled up some of the pattern paper. It sometimes doesn't hold up as well as cardstock. I have never had that trouble with cardstock, but sometimes with pattern paper. But it's in a tag, it's in a shaker, and I don't think it's going to be super obvious. In fact, it ended up not being too bad at all. While I'm still stamping, we are going to stamp the acetate. So this is also very much influenced by another project that is recent, which is the Colorado Craft Company acetate overlay cards I shared with you using another brand new stamp set from this same release from Colorado Craft Company. And I wanted to share some ideas for doing something very similar for gift tags. And we are taking the snowflakes from the CHILLIN GNOMIES and then greetings from the Spirit of Christmas, and we are going to stamp these all on our acetate circle that we die cut using white StazOn ink. I've talked about this a lot, but white StazOn is my favorite. I love it. And I am loving the way the text and the snowflakes look against the background. Now I know it doesn't look quite as impressive right now since the images aren't colored, but once we add color to our images, it is going to look amazing. Now I'm going to take my circles and we are going to color them. One thing to keep in mind is pattern paper is not as forgiving as good quality cardstock for Copic coloring. I got outside the lines a little bit. I tried to fix it with my colorless blender like I would on cardstock, and red is notoriously hard anyway, but it just would not quit leaking outside of the line. I oversaturated my pattern paper and I ended up having a little bit of a faded red line outside of there up on his hat. Again, I opted not to worry about it and I left it because it's inside the shaker. I don't think it is super noticeable. It's noticeable here to me, to us, because you know it's there. But once it's inside the shaker, once you have all that shaker material in there, once everything is colored and you have decorated up your tag, it's not that noticeable. When at all possible, if I can save or salvage something that maybe isn't going great, which you can see here, it's not, I do. I just save it. And I did not have another piece of this pattern paper, or I might have, maybe, with all that masking, maybe not. I might have considered restamping it, but I didn't have another one of this particular color of pattern paper. I'd used the other one. So I just tried to do my best to disguise the little mess up as much as possible. I'm coloring everything that's red first. I am only going to show the coloring on one of these because both are colored exactly the same, even though they have completely different pattern paper for the two ornaments. One has more silver accents and one has more gold. One is a little bit more similar, I would say, to last year's pattern paper with the florals. And then I did the other one with black and gray and silver, just for a little bit different look. Both are beautiful. I like both of them equally. And again, everything else about them is exactly the same. It's just a little bit different pattern paper. I have all the Copic marker colors I'm using listed down in the description box underneath the video here on YouTube, as well as over on my blog post. So definitely check that out if you want to know at any time what color combinations I am using. You can tell that the little bleeding of the red in the hat bothered me because I did keep trying to fix it. And we're simply going to color it in. What happens with a masked image is it becomes one image. So it's pretty big. There's lots of critters, but it's very manageable. I was able to whip both of these out in, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes maybe coloring time. It did not take that long. Coloring the first one always takes a little longer because you're picking colors and everything. If you're making more than one, it's going to come together very quickly. And I'm coloring right over those little imperfections in where the masking paper kind of pulled up some of the pattern paper. And those really do become very light and very unnoticeable in the finished tag. I am using some yellow reds here for the sleigh runner and the accents, as well as the little jingle bell on our Gnomie Santa. YR23 and 31, one of my favorite color combinations. The red color combination are 35, 37, and 39. And then I decided, at first I tried to color around all the little accents on the sleigh, and then I thought, this is silly, it's not fun, and I can color faster if I do not try to go around all of those. Plus the pattern paper wasn't really loving it. If it was on cardstock, I probably would have had better luck. So I just took a white pen when I was done coloring and added those little details back in. For our polar bear, I want him to be very light, almost white like the background. So I'm only using some very, very light warm grays to add color, and then R30 to add color for his cheeks and the insides of his ears, and then a dark gray for his nose. That little polar bear's face is so cute. I'm using a black jelly roll pen to add detail to the eyes as I'm working. I did this for all the critters. It makes their face come to life. I'm going to use E81, 84, and 87 for our bunny. So we have a little bit of a brownish color combination here. And then our penguins are going to be a darker warm gray color combination. I did use a little bit of green for the present that the polar bear is holding. There's an awful lot of red with the Santa Nomi and the sleigh. So I opted to do red for the bow or the ribbon on the package, but everything else is going to be green. And then the face and tummy of our penguins is E00. So it adds just a little bit more color to the design. Once I have this one colored, we will quickly color the other one, and then we're going to come back and put it all together. So we're going to grab all of the components now. I have a frame, acetate, backer, all that good stuff. I did add a few little white highlights. I did not go crazy over the top. I did use a black jelly roll pen for the eyes on both. And then we have the little silver metallic, either metallic silver, pardon me, or metallic gold. And then really quick before I assembled, I did decide to go in with the Sakura glitter dust pen, and I added detail to the gold part of the sleigh and the jingle bell on the Santa Nomi hat. That way it has a little bit of sparkle, but it's not a liquid product. I didn't have to wait for dry time or anything like that. So it's not like Nuvo crystal drops or maybe glue with glitter, which all would be great if you want to wait for the dry time. I did not. So I opted not to do that. Plus, with this being flat, it's not going to impede anything in the shaker that I add. Now, one of the reasons I opted not to stamp and die cut these images to place them in the shaker is that this way, when I go to put the foam adhesive, there is nothing that is going to make it lumpy or bumpy because it's all flat. For the little mini scallop tags, I took the Handmade for You from the Spirit of Christmas stamp set, the same stamp set I used for the acetate. I think it's so cute. And not only does this look cute on the back of your cards, but I thought for the little mini tag, this is something that can be removed by the recipient. So this gives it more of that gift tag element, I would say, and then it can kind of be an ornament. The recipient can just easily snip that off. You don't have to keep it or anything like that, and you're left with the beautiful shaker ornament. I like to glue my frame to the acetate. So that's what I'm doing here. I glued the acetate right there to the frame, and then I'm going to take some super strong foam adhesive. This is the Waffle Flower thicker foam adhesive. They have two different heights of foam tape. There's one that's a little thinner, and then this is thicker. This is the thicker one. That's just to help the shaker material move around a little bit. You want to butt it up next to each other, but when you're going around a curve like this, if you take your foam adhesive strip off of the backer sheet and then remove the other side of the backing, you can bend it around the shape of your shaker. It is literally my favorite thing to do because it is a game changer. You're not trying to fit together your foam adhesive or mess with it. Now, it's not going to bend unless you take off that backing. So that's what I'm taking, those sharp tweezers and pulling off the backing paper because it is so super sticky, but it is worth it. If you don't like working with foam adhesive, you could cut multiple frames and place them one on top of another to stack up and build up the frame as well. That is another idea for building your shaker well. I'm using the thickest strips from this sheet that I could. You wouldn't have to. You could use any of them. It took about 3 each. That third one you'll trim down, and I think it's about 1.25 inches left over. You can either save it or throw it away. I had touched it so much that I ended up throwing mine away. So once I get it curved around, I'm simply going to take my scissors and snip that off. And then the funniest thing, I think it may be here on camera in a little bit, and I say funny, I'm being sarcastic. It never fails lately. When I'm creating a shaker, I drop something on my shaker before I get the backer on, but while it's filled, and I make a mess. And I literally made a mess of the one thing that I never want to make a mess of, and it's these honeybee stamps snowballs. I love them in snowy winter Christmas shakers. Love them. I'm going to put them in here in a little bit. But what I don't love is dropping something on them because they just literally fly everywhere. And I, of course, dropped my waffle flower foam. I was trying to move it out of the way, and I dropped it on it, and they scattered. Those are the snowballs right there. They're so much fun, and I am a huge fan of multiple things in a shaker. I used this snowflake shaker mix as well as the snowballs. So lots of different snowflakes in that shaker mix. Now I'm trying to figure out how to line. Oh yeah, there you go. You get to see me drop it. I left it in. I thought I did. I left it in so you could see me make the mess. If you take the inserts out of your MISTI, so that's what I'm doing here. I placed this in my MISTI up in the corner, and then I'm simply going to take my backer, and you can see where the markers bled through, so I know where the bottom of that is, and I can easily line it up. And look at that, wishing you a very happy holiday. And it's perfectly lined up. By using your MISTI, it's so easy. I'm going to run a thin bead of glue all the way around my frame, and this is where we're going to insert the little metallic frame. This is an extra step. Your shaker really is complete. You wouldn't have to add anything else here, but I think that little metallic cardstock thin frame adds such a beautiful finishing look to the design. I'm going to put an acrylic block on top. Luckily, I did not make a mess of this shaker. Go me. I am trying to pick up any of the little extra pieces I find and throw them in the shaker. And again, same thing, line it up in the top of, or in the corner of my MISTI, and then place the backer on. And then shake it up. So, so cute. I love how these turned out. I could make these all day long, really. I think they're so much fun, just with different Christmas scenes inside. This one, I opted to use gold instead of silver, so it's going to have gold toppers, gold hole reinforcers, and the gold frame. I am using acrylic blocks to help hold that nice and flat while my liquid glue dries. Shake everything up, get it moving around a little bit. And then I'm going to put liquid glue around my little scallop tag, and we're going to place hole reinforcers. You can only do it on the front if you want. I did front and back. Again, that was just the extra in me. Gold on the red one. And then we're going to put a little bead of glue at the top of the front of the shaker and put one of the ornament toppers on there. Then we're going to do that for the other one and place the other ornament topper. That's just to kind of get one side of that secure, plus by placing it on the top now, you know where the top of the ornament is, which is going to be important here in a minute when we place the backer. You do need to place a backer on the back of this if you want it to have a nice finished look, because when coloring with Copics, they do bleed through the cardstock, and so the back doesn't look very pretty. In this case, I'm also going to stamp a to and from on the back, and I have just two different pattern paper backers here, and I'm going to take the to and from the Simon Says stamp Winter Flower, I think is, yes, Winter Flower stamp set, and I'm just using the VersaFine Onyx black ink to stamp those, and I'm using an acrylic block. I decided not to even use my MISTI for this, and we're simply going to stamp to and from on these. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize I was still zoomed in, so it's a little bit out of frame of the camera, but it literally is just stamping a to and a from. You could do this from any stamp set you have. So there you can see that the markers bled through. we can easily, and now we know where the top is, so our to and from isn't going to be skewed because we adhered the top part of the ornament. And then I'm simply going to place the backer on, which gives it a beautiful finished look, put a little liquid glue on the ornament topper, and we're going to place the other one on the back and then pinch it shut with some reverse tweezers while the glue dries. Let's go ahead and do that for the second one. We're going to flip it over. We'll place the backer on. A little bit of glue. And the other part of the topper. The glue dries pretty quickly, but that just kind of helps hold it and connect it. To finish my tags, I actually just went to my stash. I have some really, really old silk ribbon. I used black on the gray tag. We're going to use green on the other one. I wanted to use red, but I literally did not have enough red to use to tie into a bow. We're using some Fawn Lawn Trimmings twine to thread the two tags together. I'm also not loving my first bow, so we're going to start over. I think I like threading through the two tags first with the twine, and then we're just going to secure a ribbon up at the top. In the ribbon, you could add extras if you wanted to. Maybe you have cute little holiday themed buttons, or if you want to add jingle bells. There's so many different things you can do. I kept mine pretty simple and I just did the little ribbon and then just snip up the ends to make them look nice and pretty, and it gives it the perfect little finishing touch. And then let's do the second one. And then I will show you that I clearly did not have enough red ribbon left. I really tried. I found this little scrap. It's almost, I mean, it would work for something, just not for this. If you wanted to just tie it like into a little knot. So I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. And I did not even remember I had this green. I found it and I was like, yes, thank goodness. I could have used black again, I suppose. I just didn't really feel like using black on this one. But I really like this green. I kind of thought it worked nicely. I don't have a source for this. It's something I've had in my stash, I bet you 15 years. I've had it way since my scrapbooking days. And there are my tags. Now the final thing that I ended up doing is on the word holiday, I put a little dab of glue, and I'm going to take a clay snowflake from Trinity stamps. These are my absolute favorite. And I am going to put a little snowflake embellishment right there on each of the tags, and they're all finished. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and don't forget to click the notification bell. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. If you would like to become a member of Patreon, please click the link in the description below. All of the supplies I used to create my tags today are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. I've also linked the previous shaker tag video if you would like to check that out and see how I made it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.